You know, the wonderful thing about being religious is that aside from all the quote-unquote perks that are offered to being in this cult that you choose, because they're all cults, no matter how you look at it, is that as long as you are beholden or use this as a catalyst, you are privileged to do anything. Recently, a soldier was murdered by a man from Texas, and this man was a personal friend of his, and when he was murdered, they found out that his motivations were involved around the fact that this soldier did not believe in God. His family members, his mother and sister, were also charged with helping to abscond and clean up evidence to hide this fact. So apparently in Texas, being an atheist makes you more prone to being murdered. The thing about ignorance and religion, or more specifically, black Christian ignorance, is that my people are under the auspices that everything in the Bible is wonderful and that God is good and nothing is infallible about him. Too many fallacies in that whole sentence. But let's look at it, shall we, from this perspective. Nothing can be infallible. Nothing can be omnipotent. To do so would be to not only defy the natural laws of physics, but also the natural law of logic. If there is no logic, then what pillar of reality can it stand upon other than one's own fantasy? Everyone's fantasies are always tailored to their self-interest, which is why whenever we dream and have good dreams, there's never anything to complain about. We proudly and boldly proclaim how great it was to our friends and other constituents. But it is nightmares that we hide from, because they show a side to us that we never knew. Our fears, our insecurities, and our weaknesses. Same with religion. People like to frolic in the meadow of benevolence, but they nay dare step foot within the woods of contempt. They don't want to accept that while there's good in religion, they choose to turn the blind eye to the truth. Examples. In the story Sodom and Gomorrah, the two cities, there was a raping mob. Mob of people were just, men were just pretty much just raping women ad nauseum. So in response to this, God, quote unquote, was angry and sent angels as messengers. Correct me if I'm wrong with this story. And he did this to try and ease the crowd. In the process, the crowd began to try and attempt to rape the angels as they were disguised as men in this man's house. And in response, he offered his daughters to ease the mob's torment. He is branded and considered to be a hero. Now, shortly afterward, they evacuated the city, and the cities were destroyed. The problem with this story is, first of all, why would God send messengers to clean up a mess that he intentionally created? Second fallacy. I doubt the daughters were content with this idea. How are they supposed to feel about this sort of thing? They're not even given a choice to even be a sacrifice or not to be a sacrifice. Because the men that tried to attempt to rape the angels disguised as men were homosexuals. And under ancient custom, they were under the man's protection. If you think that there's nothing wrong with this story, you unfortunately are an idiot. The mentality that black Christians and Christians tend to have is that the difference between a Christian and a Christian is that Christians choose to have a cherry picker mentality to whatever they believe in. They wanna deal with all the good stuff, but they never want to talk about the bad stuff. They never want to question things, and they make it seem like it's a sin to question all these things. The long list of things of sin seems to continue to grow. Apparently, it's a sin to boil your child in goat milk. One would have to ask, well, if that's a sin, then why is that even on the list? One would have to think that the person that wrote this shit would probably be prone to do so. Otherwise, why even bring it up? Same with the Garden of Eden. Why forbid Adam and Eve to eat from the tree of knowledge? You're basically saying, get it? It's all an allegory to me. That pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. That's pretty much what's being said here. In order to break free from these chains, this mental plague that has swept us as a society, we have to grow beyond this mentality and not worship people that laugh at the notion of evolution or anything that makes sense. Obstructing free thinking does not promote progression. Think outside of the box. Be yourself. And this is part of the reason why whenever I get in the topic of religion, I choose not to label myself an atheist. Because to be an atheist is to be in the category of other people. I choose to be free. To me, that's a better decision than choosing to be with any of these psychological fraternities and sororities. Because in the end, you may have self-interest to people, but it doesn't change the fact that you are more or less one and the same. To quote Morpheus from The Matrix, free your mind.